Welcome to week 4, day 1 for our 5th grade Reds. Thank you so much for all your participation up to this point, and thank you for your continuous efforts to really grow and progress. So here we go with last week's day 3 exit ticket. 5/7 plus 1/5. Denominators are different, so we gotta find a common denominator. So I find the common denominator, and hopefully you did too, of 35. Once I did that, now I'm trying to get 5/7 to have something 35ths. So I find it takes me 5 times to get to 35. I'm going to do 5 times the 5 to get me 25. Same thing with the 1/5. I want to have a numerator where the denominator is 35. So I'm going to do 5 times 7 gave me 35. So now I'm going to do 1 times 7 to give me 7. I take 25 35ths and 7 35ths, add them up in my last step to make 32 35ths. So, if you made a mistake, was it not finding the correct denominator? Was it not finding the equivalent fractions correctly? Or was it an addition mistake? Try to identify that so you work on not making that same mistake. This week is all dedicated to subtraction. All right. So we have subtraction of fractions with different denominators. What do you have to do? Find a common denominator. Today we're not going to focus on finding the common denominator yet. What we're going to focus on is what this looks like. Okay? So you have a half of something. Half of this whole box is shaded in. Well, I'm trying to take away an eighth of it. Just an eighth of this whole box. So I have to break the box up into eighths. So now I have 8 parts in that box. And I'm going to take away one of them. What's that leave me with? 3/8. So for starters, I made a box. I shaded in half of it. Half of this box was shaded in. Then I made that box into eighths. Because eighths is going to be end up being my common denominator. Then I now can take away one of those eighths, be left with 3/8. What does that look like if I turn this into a common denominator with 8? So what that's going to look like is I'm going to take 1/2. It becomes how many eighths? 1, 2, 3, 4. My picture even shows it. And then technically I can swap this half out for 4/8. Now I have 4/8 minus 1/8, which will give me 3/8. That visually makes a lot more sense to us. It was probably hard for us to visually see what was going on when it was just the actual original fraction of a half. But when we swap out and take out the half for the 4/8, visually we see it makes more sense to us. All right, number 2, 3/4 minus 2/8. So I took a box originally and broke it into fourths. Then, because I'm taking away 2/8, I then broke that same box up into 8 parts instead of 4 parts. Now you work on taking away 2/8 of that to come up with an answer. Go ahead and do that now by hitting the pause button. Okay, 3/4 minus 2/8. So, to do this, I'm going to take away 2 of these 8s that are shaded in. 1, 2. How many 8s does that leave me with? eighths, being the key process here. There's 8. Since I'm taking away eighths, I have to make it into eighths. So my answer is going to be eighths. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 left, giving me the answer of 4 eighths. Which some of you might be seeing, well, wait a second, 4 eighths, isn't that a half? Yeah. If you simplified it by dividing each side by 2, you're going to get a half. Another way to look at this is if I didn't take that piece away, but I took away this piece instead, 1, 2, what do we see is left? Half of the pieces are left. All right, so 4 eighths is an okay answer for right now. Or if you want to be an overachiever, you can come up with the answer of a half. Number 3, 1/2 minus a third. So I started off with cutting it this way, like hot dog style. Half being shaded in. And then I broke it into thirds. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. I'm taking away 1/3. 1/3. How do you take away 1/3? Man, that's tough. Think about it. Go ahead, hit the pause button to do that now. So some of you might be still stuck in looking at this, and I can't take away a third, because if I take away a third, I'm taking away something that's not there. I can't take away that guy because I never shaded that guy in. So what I could do is move this guy over here. Now I can take away that. But wait a second. I don't have thirds anymore. I don't even have 1/3 shaded in. I have one piece out of what? How many pieces were there after I had a half and cut them into thirds? How many pieces do you see here? Look close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 still left out of 6 pieces. Wait a second, how did he do that? There's no denominator of 6 here. Yes, you're right. But if I had originally, let me start with the original picture. We'll backtrack a little bit. Original picture, half of them shaded in. Then I cut it into thirds. How many pieces are you seeing after I cut it into thirds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is going to become my new denominator. Now I want to take away 1/3. Well, right here in this third box, I can't because that's an empty box. So I need to move this guy over. And now I can take away that. But I'm only left with 1 out of these 6 boxes, which made my fraction 1/6. Another way of doing this is finding the common denominator between 2 and 3. Is 6. Oh, what a shocker. Taking 1/2, making that into a fraction with a 6, which is going to be 2 times 3. It took me 3 times to get there. 1 times 3 gives me 3/6. I'm going to take 1/3, turn that into a fraction that has a denominator of 6. It took me 2 times to get there. 2/6. Now that I have common denominators, I can now officially subtract 3/6 minus 2/6 to get 1/6, which is what my picture showed me I had left anyways. All right, So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, where I can just look at the picture to help me out. Sometimes I actually have to work through the whole process and find the common denominator, then subtract. Number 4, I'm going to have you do this all on your own just to see, more or less, if you make the mistake, if you can learn from it after I go over it, so you don't make it on the exit ticket. So I have 2/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. I'm taking away 2/6. So I had to break this into 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taking away 2/6. What am I going to be left? If it makes it easier for you, besides just looking at the picture, to take away 2/6, you may want to turn that into a common denominator with 2/6 to subtract, and that might make it a little bit easier to subtract. Or maybe you can look at this and say, yeah, I know how to take away 2/6 from that. Come up with your answer that way. So hit the pause button to solve this problem. Okay, so hopefully you came up with the answer of 2/6. But let's say you didn't. Where was your mistake then? Even if you got it right, where do you think mistakes could be happening? I'm challenging you there. Well, first off, I ended up having 6 parts because I broke it into thirds, and then I broke it into 6. Okay. I shaded in 2 of the 6 parts to leave me with 2 parts left of the 6. So the answer would have been 2/6 looking at it that way. Or for some of us, finding the common denominator, which is 6, converting the 2/3 to 4/6, and then saying 4/6 minus 2/6, giving you 2/6, might have been the easier way of doing it. So the picture maybe helps for some, but in the long run, it might help other people to actually make the common denominator. Now this can be simplified for my folks who are looking at that and saying, hey, those are even numbers, Mr. Brislin. You're right. So I could divide each number by 2 and get an equivalent fraction of 1/3. Look at my picture. Technically, it's 1/3, 1, 2, 3 parts are shaded in. You could say 2/6 or you could say 1/3. For now, whichever answer you came up with, I'm okay with. All right, number 5. This is your exit ticket. 3/5 minus 3/10. There's a picture that goes along with it, so use that picture to help you out. Or maybe find the common denominator and then subtract. Whatever's easier for you or makes the most amount of sense. Thank you for your wonderful participation, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye now.